Entonces, ahora vamos a comenzar. Tenemos hoy al doctor Richard Bandler, que es la mente creativa y co-creador de la programación neurolingüística. Y la noche de hoy nos va a conversar acerca de un seminario que él dicta conjuntamente con John Laval, que se llama La Ingeniería de la Persuasión. Esto es un seminario que se hace en marzo en Orlando y este año vamos a tener la dicha de tener traducción simultánea en el evento. ¿Ok? Algo súper importante. Entonces, por favor, pongan su traducción, los que quieran escuchar la versión en español y bajen las manos porque este es el momento de deleitarnos con el doctor Richard Bandler. Estos seminarios son organizados por NLP Seminar Group International, que también son de la sociedad de PNL. So, Dr. Bandler, the floor is all yours.
I'd like to welcome everybody here. Those of you that speak English, I will be speaking English. Those of you who only speak Spanish, you'll be on the other channel, of course. My good friend Daniel will be translating, and he knows this stuff almost as well as I do. It started, this particular seminar, Persuasion Engineering, started some years ago, actually decades ago, that I started 55 years ago modeling what psychotherapists did to separate from the nonsense that they tell us about it, from the techniques that actually worked, to create a technology so that people could learn, no matter what school of psychotherapy they were in, they could learn the techniques that worked and incorporate them inside of what they did, whether they were a psychiatrist or a counselor or church counselor or a coach or whatever. That the techniques that affect us are not about the theories. The techniques that affect us are about the neurology that we all share. And what affects that neurology affects it universally. Now, we may do it in different languages, we may do it with different personal histories, but what produces powerful, positive change is universal. Now, as I was doing this, one of the things that annoyed me was that people would come up and tell me that they had a PhD, and I'd go, "What's it in?" And they would say, "Oh, I have a PhD in poetry." And when I'd ask some people what their background was, they'd go, "I'm just a salesperson. I'm just a negotiator. I just do marketing." Like these weren't skills that were as highly evolved as any other human communication. So I went out and modeled the best sales training course. I modeled the best salesman. I modeled some of the best negotiators on the planet. I modeled all kinds of people. And those that had the really high close ratio, it turned out that the hardest sales of all, by the way, was Army recruiting. That's a very hard sell to convince somebody to give up 3 years of their life and go away and become a soldier. That convincing people to do that when they're young people is not that easy. Now, they turned out to have some of the best techniques. And when you put all of these things together, I put it all together in a package which is in the book Persuasion Engineering, because there are 3 things that you need in order to be a great communicator. One of those things is that you need to have a plan so that you know where you're starting, you know what step you are in that plan, and you know when the plan is over. This is demonstrated immensely by the fact that I went into a store one time because I had an electronic recording machine, very sophisticated one, very expensive, and I wanted a second one so that I could duplicate recordings in real time. And I walked into the store, pointed to the device, and I said, "I want to buy that." And the guy turned to me and said, "Let me be honest with you today," the presupposition of which is that most days he's not honest. And the other one is that I wasn't going to just walk out with what I wanted, that he had a better idea. And when I said, no, hold it right there. I just want to buy a machine. I have one. I want another one. He said, no. And he said, I have to, he had some ritual that he had to go through. So I walked away and went and bought it somewhere else. Now, this is the difference because you see, when I studied sales training programs, most of them had a package, a spiel that people would use. And if you used that spiel or that style, what happened is you had a certain close ratio. So if you wanted to make more money, you had to talk to more people. And you see, what we do in our course is to try to teach you to increase your close ratio, to have a very sophisticated plan. The second thing is you needed skills. Skills are about language. Skills are about presentation. Skills are about knowing how to convince somebody of something rather than alienate them. And then you have to have the skills to know how to package your language so that you can change your style so that you increase your close ratio. Now, this is true whether you're a manager giving instructions to an employee, whether you're trying to land a large contract or sell a car. And I've tested all of these over a period of some 40 years. We've taught this course many, many times. My goal for each and every one of you is to quadruple your income in half the time. Because if you increase your close ratio enough, you will work less and make more and get more done. For those of you that run businesses, this is particularly important because you want to be able to communicate to your employees, to your clients, quickly, effectively, and get results that last. And see, to me, your ability to know when to close and to test to know when to close and to package your communication, that when I started out years ago, I noticed something neurological, which is that people, when they're remembering visual images, their eyes go up and to the left. And that when they're constructing visual images, their eyes go up and to the right. When they're talking to themselves, their eyes go down and to the left. And when they're accessing their feelings, their eyes go down and to the right. And the amount of movement is based on the complexity of the question. Easy answers, sometimes people just defocus and the picture's right in front of them, but harder things. And it taught me that when you want to talk to somebody, you need to know how they're thinking so that you could package your communication in a way that fits their thinking. I've been teaching people about this for decades. It becomes highly effective because when you don't match what it is that when you don't package information in a way that makes it easy for people to understand. I was training many years ago people that do that headhunters that go and try to steal employees, and I had them bring the phone number of each of the most difficult people they've talked to, so that we could play it out loud on tape and listen to the difference between what worked and what didn't work. And then we'd call them. I'd adjust the person on the phone and I'd call them and have to go and call the exact same person. And in a fraction of a time, they would get a meeting with them when they were unable to before. And sometimes it was simple as changing the speed of their speech, because most people don't comprehend any faster than they talk. Our ability to communicate has very sophisticated things. Both John and I are going to teach you over a period of time techniques about how to structure your language, techniques about how to structure your intonation patterns, techniques that will allow you to gather just the right information to discover how people make changes. Anyway, that the ability to go to this course will teach you the most important thing you learn as a communicator is how to adjust yourself so that it fits the person you're talking to. When you adjust yourself and increase the variety of your behavior, in the field of cybernetics, and my background is mostly in computers and math and things like that, in any system of human beings or machine, the one with the widest range of variability is going to be the controlling element. And what controls things in communication is your ability to adjust yourself, not to demand that other people do. That if you keep doing the same thing, you'll keep closing the same kind of people. And in order to have a bigger close ratio, you'll have to talk to a lot more people. You'll work harder. Uh, there are two ways to increase your income: sell something more expensive, or work longer hours. And the other choice is to be able to talk to people and close things where you would have thought it was impossible. And I've been teaching people to do this, and John's been teaching to do this for a long, long time. Our book has still selling the way it sold when it first came out. And the reason is because the largest profession on the face of the earth is sales. And excuse me, even psychotherapists have to sell their wares, whether they know it or not. The difference between psychotherapists and salesmen and business people is we like talking about money and they are afraid to. And those of us who have been in business for a long time, I've been in this business for 55 years. And to me, the reason I've stayed in business and always done very well is because I'm able to adjust myself. You have to adjust yourself and adapt. And you have to adapt in a situation, and you have to adapt over time. Our ability to structure our businesses and our communications so that we know how to do well, that when somebody comes in and goes, well, I'm looking for something, then you should know that you're talking to somebody who thinks in pictures. When somebody comes in and says, I'm telling myself I need to get a new car, you should know that there's a very auditory portion. And what people see in their mind and what people hear in their mind determines a lot about how they feel. And if they're not aware of the pictures they're making, so they come in and they go, I'm having a rough time. My car is driving me crazy. Some days it just feels wrong, and people say this about business decisions, about negotiations. Then you need to be able to switch the predicates of your language so that it matches theirs. And sometimes there's even a sequence. People go, I see this, and it makes me feel that. And it teaches you. And we're going to explore, and the most important thing we'll do in this course is to explore and to realize how people individually make the decision to buy something or to do something. And all of us have mental neurological strategies that are reflected in our language that determine the difference between the things we buy and the things we almost buy, between the things we decide to do and the things we are constantly thinking about, but we don't actually do. And those differences are very subtle, but they're very detectable. And once you start noticing it, it's almost like you can't notice it everywhere. Your ability to take that information and to increase your close ratio is what we want for you in this course. This course is designed to make you a better communicator and to make you a professional communicator so that you know what you're doing. I get a lot of nonsense from people. They go, well, isn't that being manipulative? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is, but not in a mean way. That to me, you're either a salesperson or you're a decision engineer. You're either a negotiator or you're a decision engineer. And when you get people to make good decisions so that they think about them for the rest of their life and they're happy about them, this makes it so that you get a lot of repeat business. And the more you can get repeat business, the better. Now, the same thing, remember, I'm a hypnotist by trade. And the best part about hypnosis is you can give people post-hypnotic suggestions. The same mechanism that creates post-hypnotic suggestions is what makes decisions last. That your ability, whether you get somebody when you say a number to do something silly on a hypnotic stage, is the same way that people remember to do things repeatedly, and it becomes second nature. So that every time they think about cars, they think about you. Every time they think about insurance, they think about you. That every time your employee sits at his desk, he knows what he's supposed to do and does his job. And your ability to make things so that they happen automatically and to understand how this process works in the brain neurologically is not theoretical. It's not about big words and neurological concepts. It's about noticing certain things and doing certain things and making it second nature for you. What we're going to teach you is going to last for the rest of your life. It's going to affect your business. It's going to affect your clients. It's going to affect your family and your children, because it's all about how the brain works. The brain works certain ways, and when you understand that, you know how to adjust your behavior so that information goes in correctly and so that it functions correctly. Now, there are a lot of people that have very elaborate theories. I am not one of them. My concept is very simple. It either works or it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, you need to adjust your behavior and do something else. And you need a lot of something else because there's a lot of variety in the human world. And our ability to adjust to a certain situation. I've had people tell me that you couldn't sell certain things because they're too expensive. Well, the truth is there are a lot of people out there buying things that are way too expensive, even for their financial needs. But sometimes it may be better to sell them something cheaper and end up having them send you 10 more clients that can afford the product. You have to make those decisions all the time. And your ability to make good decisions and to function is what we intend to amplify. Now, I've got a few minutes. Is there anybody that has any questions about the course? Can they ask questions? Yes? Okay, I assume the thumbs up means yes. If somebody has a question, raise your hand and they'll make you come up on the screen. And hopefully we'll unmute you. Nobody, or are we having technical difficulty? Oh, wait.
No, we got
Oh,
them.
okay, good. Well, pop somebody up and let's have a question.
Okay. Alfonso Prieto.
Yeah, I'm going to
You
need
can
the question in English.
Yes. I'll listen to him and translate for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Quítale el mute a Alfonso.
You hear me?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay. ¿Cómo está?
Good.
I got it. No problem. Anyway, the question is gonna be short. So, all that you already explained, how can I apply that for baseball, for example? Because I got my nephew next to me. He's on.
Sorry,
And
how can we apply this to baseball?
yes,
Okay,
all the
well,
techniques that you're talking about.
yeah, well, baseball is a perfect example of where you're either making good decisions or bad decisions.
Exactly.
I just had a major league pitcher who was making bad decisions and went into a slump. And, and if you slump far enough, you don't have a job, or you get pumped down to the minors and bad things happen. So his second bad decision was to decide to have nightmares about it. And when he went back to making good decisions, because he had been a good player for a few years, and he just changed the way he was deciding to do things. And your ability to plan and to have a structure and to make good decisions and to know which ones are good decisions and which ones are bad decisions is really the difference between when people are doing well as an athlete or not. And, the difference between a good day and a bad day is really about how you're making those decisions that come down to milliseconds. In some sports, the difference between winning and losing is a fraction or 100th of a second. And so, you can't afford to be thinking the wrong thoughts along the way. And your ability to straighten out your thinking and to plan properly is not really, the course is not really about athletics, but it is the same thing. That all the courses I taught are about being smarter. And, that my ability to work with athletes and businessmen and people from almost every profession you could think of over the years, politicians, intelligence agencies, is because the technology that I'm going to teach you is the technology that allows you to think on purpose. Because if you change the way you think, it changes how you feel, and therefore changes what you're literally capable of doing. And if you're there, I'll give you some of the strategies from some of the best baseball players I've worked with. I always get those along the way.
Thank you, Dr. Bandler.
You
One
bet.
more.
Yeah.
Maria Quintero. Yes. One more. Maria Quintero. Unmute.
Hi, everyone. I have a question. My English is no good. I'm not sorry if I do any mistake. What is the best way as a or career as a real estate agent to handle any communication with the people when they want to buy, for example, any house? If they start to talk about the situation, about the bad situation, I'm really, really positive in respect with the situation that we have in this country about the, the economic, political situation. What do you think? What is the best way to I'm looking for like a strategy,
Well, the very first strategy is that you're either buying real estate, which is an investment for the rest of your life, or you're giving away money. People here are like whining about the interest rates. And excuse me, if you're investing your money in buying a house for 30 years, if the interest rates come down, you could refinance. But if you're renting, you're giving somebody else the ability to buy real estate. And in my lifetime, I've been around 55 years, and there are times that buying real estate was supposed to be insane and bad. I bought my house when they said interest rates are way too high and the market is terrible and blah 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 blah, and I got a house pretty cheap because nobody was selling houses, and it's gone way up in value. And I found a creative way to do financing, because the one thing I knew is not owning a house gives you no equity, and owning a house at least gives you some equity. And no matter what objection somebody makes to anything, overcoming objections is an art form. And we're going to spend a whole section of this seminar on overcoming objections. And we'll have you make lists of the objections you get and run through ways where you can go around them. Because, overcoming objections is part of what makes you flexible, and having ways of reframing the situation so that what looks like a liability becomes an asset. And that's an important part of what we're going to teach.
All right. Thank you very much. Do you want one more?
Oh, one more. What the heck? We're all here.
All right. Good. Ana Cristina. Ana Cristina. All right. There you are.
Hi, good evening.
I'm sorry, I can't find you.
Okay.
Wave your hand.
Hi, thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm still not seeing it. You see that on the screen?
What persuasion techniques from NLP do you recommend to address and transform the toxic dynamics of some members and coalitions in a group?
I'm sorry, I didn't, you're breaking up. I'm not hearing what you said. Can you repeat it, Juan?
Yes. Dímelo en español, por favor.
Okay. ¿Qué recomiendas? ¿Qué técnicas de la PNL recomiendas para transformar las dinámicas tóxicas de los miembros y coaliciones en un equipo o grupo?
Okay, good. I got it. So she's asking, what do you recommend on persuasion when you have a group and they have, in a way, shitty relationships among them? So how can you persuade them so they can work better together?
Well, one of the things you have to do is whenever you have groups that disagree, I've negotiated things for groups where they were ready to kill each other. I did inhalation therapists in this country, or people that put medicine in breathing machines, and half of them wanted a 4-year credential and the other half wanted a 2-year credential. And You know, they were just fit to kill each other. But whenever there are sides that disagree, they start making it personal rather than going to a larger level of generalization. I took their own proposals and changed one word in the proposal and then read it the next day and said, does anybody disagree with it? And nobody out of 1,000 people raised their hand. And the only word I changed is the word mandatory to the word desirable, so that it would be desirable to have 2 degrees, or it would be desirable to have just 1. And the point is that they're not mutually exclusive. There's no reason to be fighting over this. They just got hung up over the people that had the 2-year credential and the people who said it had to be 4, thinking that they would be out of a job. And there's a way around everything. If you're looking for agreement, you always must go to a larger level of generalization. And the larger level of generalization is one that takes into account time. You know, that in our country right now, we have a new president who is cleaning up the finances like a madman. And there are people literally going crazy because they can't keep up with what he's doing. And, you know, they're going to have to negotiate in Congress all kinds of solutions, which means that they're going to have to take into account what's most important. What's most important is not that people belong to this party or that party. What's most important is that we end up being able to pay off some of our debts. And, you know, and everybody agrees they want things to be more efficient. They just have trouble agreeing about how it's going to be done. And in the end, there's no reason why you can't do it 3 ways at the same time. And ultimately, I'm sure that's what it will come down to in the very end. There'll be a lot of squawking along the ways. And sometimes people need to squawk, but if instead of going, is it about this content or that content, you take it to a bigger concept. You know, wouldn't it be nice if we could find 5 things we all agreed upon rather than 2 that we disagree upon? And sometimes you get groups to go up a level and they start to negotiate so that everybody gets a little of something. You know, that sometimes, you know, especially when dealing with government agencies, it's very difficult. I went into government agencies and started changing the way they were doing things. They went wacky. But I'd said, you know, isn't the most important thing the soldiers that we're training, that they're prepared? Does anybody want the soldiers to be unprepared? And everybody went no, and suddenly they were all saying the same thing. And when you get 5 or 6 things people all agree upon, then it's easier to talk about the other stuff. People start looking for solutions rather than for what's going to make something hard.
All right.
That's part of how you overcome objections.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bandler. Well,
You bet. That's it?
6:33. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see some of you in Orlando.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Muy bien. Muy bien.
Somebody got a little
Entonces,
heart flowing over their picture. Isn't that sweet? All right, Juan, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Muy bien. Entonces, ahora, antes de que venga Fausto a cerrar este espacio, una de las cosas que el doctor Bandler estaba comentando literalmente es que en la ingeniería de la persuasión, nosotros entrenamos a las personas en habilidades para que la puedas utilizar como se debería utilizar la PNL. Cada quien es un individuo y calibrar es la madre de todas las habilidades. Tú puedes calibrar qué están haciendo con el movimiento de sus ojos, qué tipo de predicados o palabras están utilizando, si es visual, auditivo, kinestésico. Inclusive, puedes calibrar la última vez que firmaron un contrato y se sintieron bien y ellos te muestran con movimientos inconscientes que, oh sí, yo recuerdo ese contrato, ¿verdad? Cuando lo estaba firmando. Y literalmente si te hacen esto, nosotros te entrenamos para que puedas calibrar eso, para que en el momento que le vayas a entregar ese contrato, se lo pongas en el mismo sitio donde tiene el ancla positiva. Es decir, la ingeniería de la persuasión en ningún momento es una técnicas de venta. No, técnicas lo menos que enseñamos. Enseñamos son habilidades. Y cuando tú aprendes las habilidades, luego puedes crear las técnicas. Aquí veo mucha gente que ha estudiado PNL de diferentes partes de Sudamérica, de América, inclusive veo gente de España que conozco. Y la PNL nunca será una ciencia porque en ningún momento nosotros generalizamos. Trabajamos con cada persona como lo que es. Y eso es verdaderamente lo que buscamos. Entonces, en este momento me voy a despedir. Fausto se va a quedar con ustedes porque va a darle información a ustedes de lo que literalmente se va a ofrecer para marzo. Sin embargo, antes de irme, quiero dejarles una pequeña sorpresa, que va a ser sorpresa hasta para Fausto. Quiero que organicemos un webinar en donde vamos a enseñar 3 cosas básicas de PNL de cómo podemos utilizar en las ventas. Todos los que han ido a mis seminarios o a los seminarios que ha dictado Fausto, siempre enseñamos primero con ejemplos de la vida diaria. Ana Cristina, recuerdo que en el Hotel Tamanaco en Caracas, cuando estábamos aprendiendo cosas básicas de PNL, primero hacíamos ejemplos como si le estuvieses hablando a tu esposo, a tus hijos, a la persona del supermercado, a esa persona en la tintorería. Y luego con esas mismas habilidades, luego lo llevábamos a un escenario de trabajo. Porque si las personas dicen, no, es que en ningún momento tengo clientes para practicar PNL, en mi mente es que estás viviendo en una cueva. Porque la PNL se practica con cualquier persona que respire y se pueda mover. ¿Ok? Así que, Fausto, vamos a organizar eso para la próxima semana, 2 horas. Practicamos ciertas habilidades, los llevamos a cuartos en donde en pareja practiquen cada habilidad por unos 10 minutos para que realmente saboreen lo que es aprender PNL directamente de la fuente. Acuérdate que este señor es el padre de la PNL, ha entrenado personas como Tony Robbins, esta gente que inventó esto del neuroventa, tiene como 6 demandas de la sociedad de PNL por estar plagiando cosas desarrolladas por nosotros. Es decir, date la oportunidad de aprender algo. Y para despedirme, recuerda, la PNL es como un deporte. Y cuando nosotros enseñamos la PNL, es como una clínica de natación. Es decir, vas a ir al agua, vas a aprender a dar las brazadas y cuando veas que estás haciendo esta brazada así, el modificar esto simplemente puede ser la diferencia entre cerrar una venta o no, porque el diablo está en los detalles. ¿De acuerdo? Así que espero que tengan muy buenas noches. Les recomiendo que se queden en el grupo porque por el grupo después van a enviar el enlace y vamos a poner ciertos videos en donde pueden ver literalmente la ingeniería de la persuasión en pleno funcionamiento. ¿De acuerdo? Fausto, muchísimas gracias por haber organizado esto. Tu señora Ivana y a Mariana, y se me olvida el nombre de la otra amiguita mía que está en Caracas, pero muchísimas gracias y nos vemos pronto.
Perfecto, gracias Juan, gracias a todos. Y realmente Juan dice algo muy cierto. El doctor Richard Bandler es la mente creativa. Cuando vemos a las grandes personalidades que hoy capacitan a miles de personas y entendemos que el doctor Bandler ha sido la influencia principal en personas como Tony Robbins, en personas como el doctor Joe Dispenza, en personas como, se me van ahorita, digamos, algunos nombres, pero son personas que han llevado el trabajo del doctor Bandler a otras latitudes y a masificarlo de una forma increíble. La programación neurolingüística es la manera en la cual te conectas con la mente inconsciente y con la mente consciente de las personas. Y les voy a decir rápidamente, cuando hace 15 años yo empecé en las industrias de ventas, el que tenía un website era el rey. O sea, realmente captabas todo el grueso de los clientes porque era una tecnología en desarrollo. A medida que mi industria fue evolucionando y la tecnología me pasó por enfrente, tuve que adaptarme y tuve que cambiar. Al final entendemos que para crecer tienes que transformarte y transformarte necesita pasar por la habilidad de tener esa elasticidad, de ser una persona adaptable a los nuevos tiempos y hoy en día la tecnología es tan avanzada que si no tienes la manera de conectar realmente con los compradores, con los negociadores, en bienes raíces, en temas de seguro, en la industria que te encuentres, como yo siempre les digo, tu primo, tu familia te va a comprar una casa o te va a comprar una póliza de seguro, créeme que se va a meter en internet y le van a escribir 15 personas más y es tu primo. Entonces la competencia ya no se basa solo en la tecnología. La tecnología es el vehículo para ponerte un cliente enfrente. Pero si tú no tienes desarrolladas las habilidades para convertir ese lead en un cliente, es donde entiendes todo lo que ha explicado Juan y el doctor Bandler, cómo comunicarte de forma efectiva, cómo utilizar el silencio como una herramienta, cuáles son las preguntas, cuál es la entonación, cómo es el movimiento de tus manos, cómo entender si el cliente se está acercando al placer o alejándose del dolor, cómo se dan esos procesos de toma de decisiones de los clientes. Y ahí es donde viene la influencia de ustedes como vendedores y como negociadores. Entonces, la persuasión de la ingeniería la ha estado dando el doctor Richard Bandler, les decía yo en un video previo. Me puedo quedar corto si digo que la está dando aquí en Orlando por los últimos 15 años. Quizás son 17 o 18 años. Entonces, esa fue una de las primeras certificaciones que yo tomé y cambió totalmente la forma en la cual no solo asumía responsabilidad de mis resultados, porque ya no es culpa ni responsabilidad de la tecnología, de que es que hay muchos agentes, de que es que la economía no funciona, de que los préstamos o las tasas de interés están altas. Es entender que yo tengo la habilidad de conectar de una forma más efectiva y pasar por ese proceso te lo da preparaciones como la ingeniería de la persuasión. La ingeniería de la persuasión es una certificación, a mi concepto o a mi entender, es una de las principales básicas que debemos iniciar si quieres empezar a conocer todo este tema del manejo de la mente humana, de las tomas de decisiones, de cómo funcionan esos motivadores. Y ese proceso se da en marzo. De la fecha es del 7, 8 y 9 de marzo. Aquí les voy a compartir rápidamente unas láminas. Vamos a ver si me deja. Mariana, ahí envié una solicitud quizás para compartir pantalla. Necesitas autorizarme, aunque bueno, ya la tengo aquí abierta. Vamos a ver si ven mi pantalla. Me dejan saber si se ve correctamente. Esta es la ingeniería de la persuasión. El costo con traducción simultánea al español es de $1,200. Son 3 días en vivo con el doctor Richard Bandler. Son 8 horas diarias de entrenamiento junto con el presidente de la Sociedad de Programación Neurolingüística, el Master Trainer John Laval. Junto al doctor Bandler dan ese entrenamiento. Es un entrenamiento maravilloso. Fue mi primera certificación y de verdad, como les digo, me cambió la forma en la cual yo me comunicaba con ambas mentes, como digo yo, con la mente consciente y con la mente inconsciente de los seres humanos. Está disponible. Si vamos a ver, ok. Si puedes pagarlo en 3 cuotas, ok, el precio son de $400 cada pago. Si lo haces antes de las 12 de la noche, tienes incluida una sesión individual de planificación estratégica. Cuando hablamos de planificación estratégica es sentarnos 1 hora a analizar cuál es tu canal de comunicación, cuáles son los ciclos comerciales, cómo está trabajando tu equipo de ventas o si eres un vendedor individual, cómo estás haciendo la captación de leads, cómo es tu funnel de venta, cómo haces eventos de conversión, cómo sucede todo el proceso comercial estratégico del paso 1 al cierre de los clientes. Está incluida, es totalmente gratis si compras y haces los 3 pagos de aquí a las 12 de la noche. En el caso de que decidas hacer el pago hoy de los $1,200, que es lo que cuesta la ingeniería de la persuasión sola, si haces el pago de una vez, te incluimos la sesión de los 60 minutos totalmente gratis y 4 horas de capacitación comercial para tu equipo de ventas, para ti de forma presencial, o si estás en otro país, la podemos hacer de forma remota, ¿ok? Es importante que sepan que la ingeniería de la persuasión aquí en la ciudad de Orlando se hace presencial. Ninguna capacitación del doctor Bandler es online. Si a ti te están capacitando para ser un practicante de PNL y ves que hay una certificación online, lo primero que te diría es corre, porque ese no es el lugar indicado. Lo único que está avalado por el doctor Bandler y por la sociedad de PNL son certificaciones presenciales, ¿ok? Es importante que lo tengamos claro. Sin embargo, si haces el pago hoy, tienes estas 4 horas de capacitación comercial donde vamos a ir al detalle. Mucho del entrenamiento que te voy a dar en esas 4 horas viene de Ingeniería de la Persuasión y sí te recomendaría que hicieras primero la certificación de Ingeniería de la Persuasión y luego pudieras ir a las 4 horas de capacitación porque en tu mente las cosas que yo te diga te van a empezar a hacer sentido luego de que estés ahí. Entonces, tienen esta opción de recibir gratis las 4 horas de capacitación comercial, la hora de la sesión estratégica individual y el pago tendría que ser de una sola vez por los $1,200, ¿ok? Aquí les estoy dejando los códigos QR. No sé si llegan a verlos acá, pero en caso de que, déjame tratar de, si no los ven, aunque los pueden escanear con el celular para que los tengan ya guardados, se les va a colocar los enlaces en el grupo de WhatsApp. Les voy a decir, realmente si quieren cambiar la forma en la cual están vendiendo, en la cual se están conectando con los clientes, en la cual están negociando los acuerdos. En estos días hablaba con alguien de administración de propiedades, que es una negociación constante entre clientes e inquilinos, y eso te lo da esas habilidades que dice Juan, realmente las recoges cuando aprendes hacia dónde está viendo la persona, qué está sintiendo, cómo atacas esa necesidad, esa sensación que tiene el cliente, cómo lo llevas del dolor al placer o del placer al dolor a través de un puente comunicacional. Entonces, realmente, este es el primer paso para todas las personas que se quieran capacitar en ingeniería de la persuasión. Tienen incluidas las 4 horas de sesión presencial donde vamos a hacer una disección completa del proceso de venta comercial de ustedes, de su equipo de trabajo, de la empresa completa. Y si necesitan hacer los 3 pagos, solamente van a tener incluido entonces los 60 minutos de lo que es la sesión de planificación estratégica comercial, ¿ok? Vamos a estar hablando de cómo son los ciclos comerciales de tus clientes, cómo abordarlos, cómo muchas veces, como yo les digo, tú quieres a los clientes que están listos para comprar, sin embargo, en el momento de que dejas ir al resto que no están listos, estás perdiendo una cosecha constante. Pero como no tienes un canal para fabricar ese horno que te permita ir calentando a los clientes poco a poco, pues definitivamente queremos convertirnos en un pescador que lo que hace es recoger los peces que están flotando y no volverte el pescador que se mete a sacar con habilidad los peces. Ahí están esas 3 opciones, tienen los códigos QR y de forma inmediata se están colocando en el grupo de WhatsApp los enlaces, ¿ok? Ha sido un webinar espectacular. Realmente a quien han tenido enfrente es a una eminencia, al genio, a la mente creativa de la programación neurolingüística. Todos nos sentimos súper agradecidos con el doctor Bandler por habernos dado esos minutos que son oro para el que lo sepa valorar. Realmente, cuando me dicen, Fausto, ¿la PNL es para todos? No. La PNL es para las personas que quieran y estén dispuestas a producir un cambio profundo en sus vidas. El otro, el que quiere, como decimos, un dicho, los mangos bajitos, el que quiere tomar ventaja de la vida, este quizá no sea su camino. Aquí es el camino de las personas que queremos ser un agente transformador, un agente de cambio, y a través de la PNL lo vas a conseguir. Muchas gracias a todos. Seguimos activos por el grupo de WhatsApp y Juan tiene algo que agregar.
Sí, quiero dejarles con algo porque yo tengo 48 años y cuando yo estaba en bachillerato, en high school, ¿verdad? ¿Quién recuerda cuando la margarina era lo más saludable? ¿Se recuerdan en los 90? La mantequilla es veneno. 20 años después utilizamos la margarina cuando la bisagra de una puerta suena. Porque sabemos que es veneno. De igual manera, en los 80 y en los 90, la mayoría de la gente que hacía cursos de ventas les decían hay que crearle la necesidad al cliente. Eso es tan absurdo como que la margarina es saludable. Y les quiero dejar un pequeño ejemplo para que te des cuenta por tu propia vivencia de lo siguiente. En el país en donde estés, saca la cuenta de cuánto es el equivalente a $100. ¿Lo tienes en tu mente? Ok. Ayer fui a cenar con mi esposa. Nos comimos una pizza margarita, nos tomamos cada uno un jugo de naranja y la cuenta fue solamente $120. Fíjate la reacción que tuviste de manera involuntaria. ¿Cuántos de ustedes dijeron, este tipo es pendejo, ¿cómo paga $120? O el restaurante tuvo que haber sido con bandejas de oro. Exacto, porque lo que sí el doctor Bandler mencionó muchas veces es que la ingeniería de la persuasión está en base a obtener la información inconsciente del cliente. La decisión de compra es una comparación inconsciente por algo que ya tú tienes referencia. Cuando tú pensaste, qué estupidez, qué locura, wow, ese restaurante, para poder haber hecho eso, inconscientemente trajiste por lo menos dos imágenes. La primera que te sembré con lo que te dije de una pizza margarita con dos jugos de naranja, y luego la segunda imagen cuando escuchaste el precio porque hiciste una comparación inconsciente para poder decir, qué locura, me gustaría ir a ese restaurante, etcétera, etcétera. Esto es la esencia verdadera de la ingeniería de la persuasión. Entender que cuando aprendes a calibrar esos procesos inconscientes es mucho más fácil educar al cliente. Vender es educar al cliente. Y cuando el doctor Bandler estaba diciendo justamente que eres un ingeniero en decision making o en hacer decisiones, es que tú entiendes cuál es su sistema inconsciente de cómo hace las compras. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre algo que compraste y algo que casi compraste? ¿Dónde está ese detalle que faltó? Y con ese ejemplo sencillo me voy a despedir, porque todos los que entienden castellano o español, cuando describí un producto y luego di un precio, si en tu cerebro sabes que es una pizza y tienes referencia más o menos cuánto cuesta, inconscientemente hiciste esa comparación. Y ahí es en donde está la magia de lo que nosotros enseñamos. Y ahí es donde está la magia de en ningún momento utilizar un puto script. ¿Cómo vas a poder utilizar un script si una persona te está hablando muy auditivo y aparte de eso te está hablando de alejarse del dolor? Cuando él dice, hay que calibrar al cliente y saber qué es lo que está haciendo con su lenguaje y con esa información inconsciente que te está dando, ahí es cuando él dice, you package information. Ahí es cuando tú empacas la información como cuando te haces un traje, como cuando te haces un vestido con un sastre y lo haces a la medida. Porque al menos que tengas un supermercado y seas chino y lo que te interesa vender volumen, nada más hay estúpido, una vez que aprendiste esto hoy, que publicar tus precios. Porque estás dejando que ellos inconscientemente hagan una comparación de lo que creen que vendes tú comparado con la competencia y tomen una decisión sin que tú puedas persuadirlo, sin que tú puedas utilizar sus mismos sistemas de representación, sin que tú puedas influenciar su decisión. Por eso, cuando Fausto terminó, quería dejarles este pequeño aprendizaje porque, te guste o no, 9,8 metros sobre centímetros cuadrados es la fuerza de la gravedad. Y te guste o no, la compra comienza por una comparación inconsciente. ¿De acuerdo? Así que espero que tengan muy buenas noches. Fausto, muchas gracias y ahí está el form en el grupo.
Listo, les dejo por acá de todas formas a las personas que no han podido tomar screenshot o para que lo hagan y si no está en el grupo de WhatsApp. Gracias y buenas noches.